After the study lesson, Andy and Louise meet to discuss the progress of each focus pupil and their possible next steps. They then go on to consider what they have learnt from the study lesson and the discussion with the children, and how this will influence future practice within their own classrooms.
Looking at April, when we were going through the lesson, her place value was spot on, but her estimating was still way out. So it's where we go then with that next time we look at these children. Grace, her estimating was really good, and she'd got her inverse operations sorted, can move them around quite easily, but her number bonds, which actually left her then with some gaps as she was working through. And George had actually picked it up really, really well and could identify then some of the places where she'd made a mistake. So that would be worth having a look on the APP things and find out then where actually that would move her onto, because I think she's made really good progress in that lesson.
So even within a homogenous group of children, or supposedly homogenous group, there's quite a wide variation.
There is, and that's the brilliant bit from observing it, because obviously then the focus is taken away from having to teach that group, and you can really pick out those children and where they need to go, and what those gaps are. And I think the next thing we need to do is keep looking at the APP and flagging up any bits in here that we need to then use as a next step. But I think looking at the overcoming barriers, and this would be a really nice activity for them to have a look at, because it's partitioning and ordering, and looking at the place value. So where Grace was struggling, and it was up to the hundreds, she can then have a look, and you could do this as a whole class, is take one of the numbers and do it as an interactive, because they really enjoyed that interactive work at the beginning, and it was quick, really good assessment.
So should I use the overcoming barriers just with the focus group, or should I extend that out to other children in the class as well?
I think it depends on what strand it is you're going to use it for, because there's all the different strands on it. So if it's a particular focus for one group of children, I'd use it with the one group of children. If it's an activity that you could actually use and would benefit them all, then use it as a mental starter with them all, because that would be a really good way of getting a good assessment of some of the key areas where they find things quite challenging.
From the conversations we have with the children, as well as the things they need to do to actually move themselves ahead mathematically that are overtly mathematical, it's quite apparent that there's some organisational changes I can make in the classroom that will improve the learning that's going on. For instance, until now we'd always assumed that having the children sat close to the whiteboard was a good thing, because they were close to the teacher, interacting with the teacher, but talking to the children just now, it's quite apparent that they're more comfortable sitting further away, and that they concentrate better further away. So I need to change my classroom organisation to accommodate that.
And they really enjoyed the actual coming up with the activities themselves and having ownership over what they were doing, rather than having it all laid out for them. And I think that's really important. And the working as pairs, they really enjoyed that talk and sharing their ways of working things out. And I loved it when she said children explain it in a simpler way, and they probably do, because they get their heads around it in a different way to the way we would do it, and it's actually giving them more of an idea of how they could work things out, and their enjoyment of the whiteboard work. And that for me was one thing that I hadn't thought about, was they're feeling very brave when they've got a whiteboard, and if they make a mistake they can rub it out and it's fine, and actually in their book they feel more committed and scared of doing that, and that's something that I hadn't considered at all. So I think that's one thing I'm going to go back and look at the use in my classroom.